So let's give you a brief history of cognitive behavioral therapy. So not only does cognitive behavioral therapy have its origins in the field of psychology, but it also has been linked to philosophical roots that may be traced back to the Socrates school of philosophy, specifically Stoicism or the Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus. According to Diaz and Murgula, Robert Ellis has referred to the fact that cognitive behavioral therapy has been widely associated with a variety of philosophical schools of thought, including yogi philosophies, existentialism, Buddhism, Taoism, hedonism, Epicureanism, Kant, and Spinoza. The treatment of psychiatric illnesses using cognitive behavioral therapy is a relatively recent technique compared to other approaches. During the 1950s, Albert Ellis published his works on rational emotive behavioral therapy, or REB, which served as the foundation for the development of cognitive behavioral therapy. The first paper that Albert Ellis ever published on the subject of rational emotional therapy was published in 1956, and he established his institute in 1959. Depressed people have a negative thinking pattern, bias, and have distorted cognitions about themselves, the future, and the world, according to Aaron Beck, who created cognitive therapy in the 1960s. Beck also observed that depressed patients had faulty cognitions about the world. After that, Aaron Beck extended cognitive therapy to various psychiatric illnesses. However, it was not until the late 1970s that cognitive therapy and behavior therapy combined into the most common kind of therapy, which is known as cognitive behavioral therapy. The evolution of cognitive behavioral therapy continued through the 1980s and 1990s with significant contributions from various researchers and clinicians. During this period, cognitive behavioral therapy began to incorporate techniques and principles from other therapeutic approaches, such as mindfulness and acceptance strategies from acceptance and commitment therapy, or the one also called ACT. This integration aimed to enhance the effectiveness of cognitive behavioral therapy in treating a broader range of psychological disorders, including anxiety disorders, eating disorders, and substance abuse. One of the key milestones in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy was the establishment of empirical evidence supporting its efficacy. Numerous clinical trials and studies conducted over the past few decades demonstrated the effectiveness of cognitive behavioral therapy in treating a variety of mental health conditions. This robust evidence base has led to cognitive behavioral therapy being recognized as a gold standard treatment in clinical guidelines and recommended by major health organizations worldwide. The application of CBT has also expanded beyond individual therapy. Group CBT, self-help CBT, and computer-based cognitive behavioral therapy programs have been developed to increase accessibility and reach a larger population. These adaptations have made cognitive behavioral therapy a versatile and flexible treatment option, suitable for diverse settings, including primary care, schools, and community centers. Today, cognitive behavior therapy continues to evolve with ongoing research and advancements in psychological science. Innovations such as internet-based cognitive behavioral therapy, or ICBT, and mobile app interventions are emerging, providing new ways to deliver cognitive behavioral therapy to individuals who may not have access to traditional face-to-face therapy. These technological advancements hold promise for improving the scalability and accessibility of cognitive behavioral therapy, ensuring that more people can benefit from this evidence-based treatment. In summary, the history of cognitive behavioral therapy is marked by its philosophical roots, the pioneering work of Albert Ellis and Aaron T. Beck, and its continuous evolution and adaptation to meet the needs of diverse populations. With a strong empirical foundation and ongoing innovations, cognitive behavioral therapy remains a cornerstone of modern psychotherapy, offering effective treatment for a wide range of mental health conditions. So we're going to talk about the history of cognitive behavioral therapy. We should also talk about and give you a brief overview of the cognitive model. Basically, using the cognitive model, one can understand how the thoughts and perceptions of individuals influence how they feel and how they behave. The cognitive model is at the core of cognitive behavioral therapy, and it is an essential component in assisting therapists in conceptualizing and treating the challenges faced by their clients. So let's talk about the key components of the cognitive model. One of those key components of the cognitive model is cognitive processes. These cognitive processes include all the mental activities related to thinking, such as perception, memory, and problem solving. The cognitive model posits that our interpretations of events significantly influence our emotional and behavioral responses. Understanding these processes helps therapists identify the root of emotional distress and maladaptive behaviors in clients. Another key component of the cognitive model is automatic thoughts. These automatic thoughts are spontaneous, often subconscious thoughts that occur in response to specific situations. These automatic thoughts can be positive, neutral, or negative. And these thoughts actually, in general, a human being can have about 6,000 thoughts a day, and on average. And out of these 6,000 thoughts a day, most of those thoughts are going to be negative thoughts. These are called the negative automatic thoughts that often lead to emotional distress and maladaptive behaviors. Recognizing and addressing these thoughts is crucial in cognitive behavioral therapy, as they are often the immediate precursors to negative emotional and behavioral responses. Another key component of the cognitive model is cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are biased ways of thinking that are often irrational and unhelpful. Some common cognitive distortions include all or nothing thinking, which is viewing situations in black and white terms without recognizing any middle ground. Overgeneralization, making broad conclusions based on a single event. Catastrophizing, expecting the worst possible outcome in any situation, personalization, taking responsibility for events outside of one's control. Identifying these distortions allows individuals to challenge and change their thought patterns, reducing emotional distress. Another key component of the cognitive model is core beliefs. Core beliefs are deeply held beliefs about oneself, others, and the world. These beliefs are often formed early in life and can be rigid and overgeneralized. Negative core beliefs might include feelings of worthlessness and helplessness. Changing these core beliefs is a fundamental goal of cognitive behavioral therapy, as they underlie many automatic thoughts and cognitive distortions. So let's talk about the principles of the cognitive model. Thoughts influence emotions and behaviors. The cognitive model suggests that it is not the events themselves that cause emotional distress, but rather the interpretation of these events. By changing maladaptive thoughts, one can alter their emotional responses and behaviors. This principle underscores the importance of cognitive restructuring in cognitive behavioral therapy. Identification and modification of dysfunctional thoughts. A key therapeutic goal in the cognitive model is to help individuals identify and challenge their dysfunctional thoughts and replace them with more realistic and adaptive ones. This process involves recognizing cognitive distortions and actively working to reformulate them. Behavior experiments. These are used to test the validity of one's beliefs and assumptions. By engaging in activities that contradict their negative beliefs, individuals can gather evidence to support more positive and realistic ways of thinking. Behavioral experiments help bridge the gap between cognitive change and real-world application. Skills development. Cognitive behavioral therapy often involves teaching clients specific skills to manage their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. These skills might include problem solving, relaxation techniques, and assertiveness training. Skills development empowers clients to take an active role in their own treatment and improve their ability to cope with stress and adversity. So let's talk about the principles of treatment in cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapists develop personalized treatment plans for each client, which is crucial for building a strong therapeutic relationship, setting objectives, planning the course of treatment, and choosing appropriate interventions. There are 14 tenets of good cognitive behavioral therapy. So, dynamic conceptualization is one of those tenets. Cognitive behavioral therapy treatment plans are continually updated based on the client's evolving cognitive framework. This ensures that therapy remains relevant and effective. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is the therapeutic relationship. A strong, supportive relationship between the therapist and the client is essential. Trust and rapport are foundational for effective therapy. That relationship is actually the most important thing to actually start creating that change. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is continuous monitoring. Client progress is regularly tracked and assessed. This allows for timely adjustments to the treatment plan as needed. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy is cultural adaptation. Cognitive behavioral therapy is adapted to fit the cultural context and individual needs of each client. This enhances the relevance and efficacy of the therapy. Positive emphasis is another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment. The approach focuses on positive aspects and strength. Highlighting strengths helps build client resilience and motivation. Another important tenet in cognitive behavioral treatment is collaboration and participation. Therapy involves active collaboration and participation from the client. Engaging clients in their own treatment fosters empowerment and self-efficacy. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is aspirational and goal-oriented. Cognitive behavioral therapy is driven by values and is aimed at achieving specific goals. Clear goals provide direction and purpose in therapy. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is present focus. The initial focus is on addressing current issues and concerns. This ensures that therapy is immediately relevant and impactful. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is educational approach. Cognitive behavioral therapy involves teaching clients about their conditions and coping strategies. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy is knowledge empowers clients to take control of their mental health. Time sensitivity. Treatment is designed to be time efficient. Efficient use of time ensures that clients receive maximum benefit from each session. Structured sessions is another tenet. Each session follows a structured format to ensure effectiveness. Structure provides clarity and focus during therapy. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is guided discovery. Clients are guided to explore and challenge their dysfunctional thoughts. This fosters insight and cognitive change. Another tenet of cognitive behavioral therapy treatment is action plans. Therapy includes homework assignments to reinforce learning. Homework helps clients apply what they learn in therapy to their daily lives. Variety of techniques. Cognitive behavioral therapy employs diverse methods to alter thinking, mood, and behavior. A variety of techniques ensures that therapy can be tailored to each client's unique needs. These tenets can be found on the Beck Institute of Cognitive Behavioral Therapy website. But I find it interesting how one of these tenets of cognitive behavioral therapy is cultural adaptation. However, research and clinical trials have mostly been performed with Caucasians, and there is not enough training or tools to adapt this effective tool to other races or marginalized populations. Many different groups are oppressed and marginalized, and cognitive behavioral therapy can still be an effective method to employ with one of these groups. Individuals and communities who are oppressed and disenfranchised might benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy by learning how to cope with difficult situations and cultivating a sense of empowerment. The cognitive behavioral therapy driving force of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors association can also be used with marginalized and oppressed groups. This is accomplished by utilizing these associations and developing an understanding of these groups, focusing on how the negative experiences of oppression can influence their thoughts, as well as how they perceive themselves and others based on their experiences and the factors that contributed to their marginalization and oppression. Utilizing the association of the activating events, behaviors, and consequences of thoughts, feelings, and actions, as well as providing assistance in the formulation of a desired conclusion. It is yet another method for deconstructing this therapy modality and applying it to groups that are marginalized and oppressed. The therapist who does cognitive behavioral therapy ought to be aware of the various mentalities and cultural variations, behaviors, and coping techniques that have already been learned by the group population of individuals who are marginalized and oppressed. Additionally, therapists who use this technique must be conscious of the various cultural stigmas associated with treatment and the accessibility of treatment. There is also the reality that many disadvantaged and marginalized groups do not have access to cognitive behavioral therapists, which is another element that should be taken into consideration. Another barrier that prevents people from different social groups from gaining access to this treatment is that a significant number of the therapists who use this method are employed in private practice. Private practitioners are not treating marginalized and oppressed groups that are in the lower socioeconomic sphere. This is because most private practitioners work with commercial insurance and are part of the dominant groups that can afford access to private practice care. So this is mostly the population that they serve. Even though there is diversity in the different genders, sexual preferences, ages, and other aspects of private practice, most private practitioners do not treat these different groups. I would say that a solution to this problem would be to increase the amount of training provided by organizations that are not-for-profit so that individuals have greater access to successful therapies. However, not enough data has been collected also on marginalized and oppressed groups. Despite this, the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy can still be utilized to assist these groups. At the same time, additional research should be performed and more samples of marginalized and oppressed groups should be included in order to create more accurate treatment protocols. There is a growing need for culturally adapted cognitive behavioral therapy programs that can address the unique experiences and challenges faced by these populations. By including a more diverse range of participants in clinical trials and research studies, we can develop more effective and inclusive treatment methods. Furthermore, increasing awareness and understanding of the barriers faced by marginalized and oppressed groups in accessing mental health care is crucial. This can be achieved through advocacy and policy changes aimed at improving access to mental health services for all individuals, regardless of their socioeconomic status or cultural background. By addressing these disparities, we can ensure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from the principles and techniques of cognitive behavioral therapy. To conclude this segment, this presentation, this part of this course, While cognitive behavioral therapy has proven to be an effective treatment for many individuals, there is still work to be done to ensure its accessibility and applicability to marginalized and oppressed populations. By focusing on cultural adaptation, increasing access to care, and conducting further research, we can all work towards a more inclusive and effective approach to mental health treatment that benefits everyone.